After 3 years of marriage, Elias seemed like a completely different man. The same man who used to spend entire nights partying and drinking now came home every day at the same time, his hair still damp from rushing, his eyes anxious for my reaction. The women who used to surround him like moths around a flame had simply disappeared. He watched my every expression with fear, as if any frown could be his sentence. Until one day, out of the blue, he asked me almost desperately to go to the hospital for a checkup. At that moment, I understood. Something inside him had also awakened. That night, he rushed into the house, still in his suit, went straight to the kitchen, and spent 2 hours there, alone, among pots and cookbooks. When he finished, he placed 8 plates and a soup on the table. With almost ceremonial care, he placed a bowl in front of me, saying softly that it was ginseng soup with pig's feet, good for the stomach. I tasted it silently and just nodded. I saw his shoulders relax, as if he had received absolution. He sat down, relieved, and soon offered me the main course, a yellow fish cooked in broth that, according to him, he had had flown in that morning. He picked up a piece with his chopsticks and placed it on my plate with care. I imagined his employees, watching that scene, the same Elias who had always been imposing and impassive now acting with almost servile delicacy. I ignored the fish and continued eating the other dishes. He forced a smile and just muttered that the important thing was for me to eat what I liked. At one point, he picked up his chopsticks and then put them down, hesitant. He looked at me as if walking on thin ice and said that important doctors would be at the hospital over the weekend, suggesting that I take advantage of the opportunity to have some tests done. My heart raced. I asked why. After all, he thought I needed tests if I wasn't sick. He backed off immediately, saying it was just normal concern. But I wasn't naive anymore. I looked him in the eyes and asked why. All of a sudden, he cared so much about me. He froze. After a suffocating silence, he replied that I was his wife and that it was natural to care. He lowered his face with a heavy weight on his shoulders, but I already knew. Something had changed, in him too. A month earlier, Elias was still the man who made a point of provoking me, of keeping me up all night with his humiliations. I knew he was testing my patience, waiting for me to break, but I didn't give him that satisfaction, because I was his wife, not his property, and he, frustrated, only became more cruel, until one day, out of nowhere, he refused all invitations. To go out, he started coming home on time every day, cooking full meals, and spending his weekends immersed in cookbooks. The same Elias who used to be the subject of gossip columns became a methodical, almost reclusive man. People speculated, saying he had been tamed or that he was ill, but I saw the despair in his eyes when he thought I wasn't looking. In the middle of the night, he would hug me silently, whispering my name. When he caught me looking at our wedding photo, he would turn his face away to hide his tears. I was suspicious, but I couldn't believe it. Not until dinner, when he suggested I get tested. The certainty hit me like a knife. Elias had returned. In my previous life, I died in a hospital, consumed by cancer. Elias knelt beside me, crying, begging for forgiveness, saying he would do anything if I would just survive. But it was too late. Even the best doctors couldn't do anything for me. I closed my eyes for the last time in his arms, and when I opened them again, I was 2 years in the past, at a time when I still believed that Elias could change. What I never imagined was that he would also have this second chance. I agreed to go to the hospital, but not for him. I did it for myself. Fate had offered me something rare, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. Elias was ecstatic. He immediately called his assistant and started organizing everything. As I ate the fruit he had washed, the memories came flooding back. In that other life, I only sought medical help when the symptoms became unbearable. The diagnosis came quickly and cruelly. Terminal gastric cancer, when I tried to use my savings. I discovered that my accounts had been frozen. I called Elias in desperation, and what I heard on the other end was a chorus of moans and sighs. He answered breathlessly, mocking my condition. He said that if I wanted to beg, I should do it right, that with all my arrogance, he wouldn't spend a penny on me. And then, between laughter and the moans of another woman, he called me pathetic. At that moment, I coughed up blood for the first time, bright red staining the white hospital floor. Now, there in front of me, he was different, worried, kind. When I coughed discreetly while eating the fruit, he rushed over to pat me on the back, apologizing for not cutting it into smaller pieces. I pushed his hand away. I didn't want him to see what was in my eyes. Not yet. He didn't need to know, at least not yet, that I too had been reborn. And this time, I would make him pay, little by little. Did he think he could erase the past with gestures and goodwill? He could dream on. Early on Saturday morning, he took me to the hospital. As soon as we entered, we were welcomed as guests of honor. The hospital seemed to have been emptied just for me. Each test was detailed, and the focus was clearly on the early detection of serious diseases. Elias didn't leave my side at any point. Almost 2 hours later, when the last stage was over, I went to the door to leave, but a familiar voice stopped me. It was her. I saw her face reflected in the glass, the same face that once leaned over me in the chemotherapy bed to whisper that she was pregnant with Elias, that when I died they would finally be happy. Now she looked different. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she was wearing simple workout clothes. With that naive newbie look, I opened the door and found her leaning dangerously close to Elias. He jumped back, visibly startled. When he saw me, he tried to remain calm, saying that she was just an actress from the company. He hurriedly put on my scarf, as if that would erase what I had seen. The girl introduced herself as Zoe, a theater student and aspiring actress, saying she had hurt herself on set, and that Elias had kindly taken care of her. She spoke with a sweet smile, but with a defiant gleam in her eyes. I responded with only a calm look. Elias tried to explain, but I raised my hand and said it was time to go. On the way back, he kept giving me nervous looks. Tired of the game, I told him he should just say what he wanted. He hesitated and assured me that there was nothing between him and Zoe. I said I wouldn't let anyone else come between us. I laughed sarcastically. It was ironic to hear him talk about fidelity. When he asked what he could do to regain my trust, I was direct. I said I wanted to work at his company as director of the entertainment division. After all, half the company was mine too. He was surprised, but then he smiled. A genuine smile. He said he would talk to HR and that I could start the following week. He would make sure that Monica, a veteran member of the team, would help me with anything I needed. If you want, you can ask me too, anytime. He was visibly excited, and without hesitation, he immediately called the Human Resources Department to speed up the process. As he smiled on the phone, I couldn't help but imagine Zoe's expression when she found out that I was now her direct boss. When we got home, Elias went to the kitchen, and I answered a video call from my parents. Their faces were squeezed onto the small screen, talking enthusiastically about the delicious dishes they had tasted and the places they had recently visited. As I listened to them, a warmth rose in my chest and reached my eyes. Having the chance to live everything again, to see my parents again, to hear their voices, was a gift beyond measure. My mother frowned when she noticed my expression. "Are you okay, Julia?" I took a deep breath, hiding my emotions. "It's just a slight cold. Nothing serious. But tell me again, what were you talking about?" She perked up immediately. "Do you remember Uncle Pablo, your father's old friend? He opened a resort in the mountains and invited us to the grand opening tomorrow. We're going to stay there for a few days." My father added excitedly that we would be driving there in the late afternoon and that there would be a special bonfire in the evening. The name of that place hit me like a shock. The memory that came back left me motionless. In my previous life, my parents had died on their way to that resort, victims of a landslide. Their bodies were never found. I spent years living with the pain of their absence. The mere idea of reliving that tragedy left me frozen. My mother kept talking, but her words sounded distant. I tried to focus again. "Mom, why don't you cancel this trip? The mountains are damp and cold, and you both have joint problems." She frowned, not understanding. "What nonsense is that? Pablo invited us over a month ago. How can we cancel now at the last minute?" She even tried to argue that it might be a good investment. I tried to insist once more, but she cut me off. "Don't you trust your father's judgment? I have to go now. My soap opera is about to start. Take care of Elias, and see if you can give us a grandchild soon." Before I could say anything, the screen went black. I stood there, feeling as if my chest was being squeezed from the inside. I knew my mother must already have her suitcase packed. How could I stop them from going? If I told them the truth, I would have to say that I had traveled back in time, and they would surely call me crazy. I sat on the bed, my head spinning. Elias appeared with the door ajar, saying that dinner was ready, but he stopped when he saw me. "Are you okay? You look pale." I took a while to answer. He came closer, noticed that my hair was still damp, and picked up the hairdryer. The warmth of the air on my scalp made my throat tighten. I swallowed hard. "I'm going out tomorrow. You don't have to come home at noon to cook for me." His hand paused for a second, but then resumed its gesture naturally. "Okay." That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. The next morning, I would go to my parents' house. No matter what I had to do, I wouldn't let them leave for that mountain, even if they called me crazy. I'd rather that than lose them again. With that thought, I slowly fell asleep. The next day's light flooded into the room. My eyes opened lazily. But when I saw the time, I jumped up. 11 in the morning. How was that possible? My head was spinning. I had set the alarm. I swore I had. This was no time to think about that. I got dressed in a hurry and ran out. I hailed the first taxi I saw and asked to be taken to my parents' house on the other side of town. It was lunchtime, and traffic was at a standstill. The car barely moved. The tension grew inside me with every minute that passed. I leaned forward and asked, my voice trembling with anxiety, how much longer it would take. The driver just responded with an impatient gesture, tapping the steering wheel. I grabbed my phone and called my mother. It went straight to voicemail. I tried my father. His phone was off. My stomach churned. Had they already left? In desperation, I called Elias, hoping he could send someone to stop them. But the automated message said he was on another call. I looked out the window, feeling the air escape from my chest. The feeling of helplessness crushed me. Would I be unable to save them even with this new chance? Suddenly, the driver shouted that the road was clearing. He accelerated as if his life depended on it. When I finally arrived, I jumped out of the car before it had even come to a complete stop. I ran into the house, and when I saw my parents, there, alive and well, my eyes filled with tears, I threw myself into my mother's arms, crying like a child. I tried to say something, but my voice failed me. The only thing I could stammer was "I," until I heard a voice that rescued me. Elias, standing in the middle of the room, still wearing an apron, said that we just missed you. He didn't go to work that day. He decided to cook for my parents. I hesitantly asked if the trip to the resort had been canceled. My father replied with a laugh, saying that Pablo had given up on the trip when he found out that Elias would be cooking and preferred to come to our house to eat for free. According to him, his son-in-law cooks so badly that he will never know what decent food tastes like. Elias just smiled and went back to the kitchen, telling my parents to stay with Julia, that he would finish everything. During dinner, while nibbling on a rib, I heard my mother praising Elias. When she found out that he was the one who had been preparing all my meals, she was even more enchanted. My father began to speak of Pablo's son-in-law with contempt, calling him useless. Compared to Elias, he said the other guy was a joke. Elias blushed, but proudly declared that from that day on, he would bring us over every weekend for dinner. My parents were thrilled, even talking about grandchildren. They said they had saved their jewelry to melt down and make a lucky charm for the first baby in the family. Elias smiled and agreed. I, however, froze. A child, even with 2 lives behind me, that was still a distant idea. After lunch, Elias played chess with my father while I watched soap operas with my mother. The afternoon was bathed in a warm, gentle sun. Shortly before dinner, the TV programming was interrupted. A landslide had hit Qingyan Mountain. Several vehicles were buried. People were trapped. Rescue efforts were already underway. The news was like a punch in the gut. My mother screamed, calling my father to come see. It was the same place as the resort. His face drained of color, and he fell onto the couch, clutching his chest. I ran to get the medicine and handed him the pills with trembling hands. Elias called a private doctor immediately. After the evaluation, fortunately, it was nothing serious. Elias helped him lie down. My mother was still shaking as she hugged me and said, her voice almost failing, that it was a blessing we had gone. That day, I didn't even want to imagine what would have happened if we hadn't been there. I held her tightly in my arms and promised her that everything was fine now. I told her we would stay there that night. She nodded, relieved. Being with us brought her peace. Elias and I went up to the bedroom. He just said he was going to take a shower. I turned away and walked to the bathroom. But before I could enter, Elias gently grabbed my arm. I turned slowly, and his eyes met mine. There was pain there, a silent anguish that seemed to corrode every part of him. Julia, it's all over now. Your parents are fine. He took a deep breath. For the next month, I'll have people I trust watching them discreetly. You don't have to worry. His eyes burned with a sincerity that was difficult to face. I'll protect you, always, you and your parents. There was more truth in that promise than in all the beautiful words I had ever heard from him in another life. I just nodded and looked away. Thank you for today. As the hot water began to run down my body, I felt the fear dissolve little by little. The past was no longer a fixed sentence. For the first time, I had changed something. This time, my parents were still alive. This time, they would stay with me. I lay down and turned off the lights. The moonlight shone through the curtains, bathing the room in a soft, cold light. I turned to the other side of the bed, away from Elias. His restless movements revealed that he was still awake. Can't you sleep? The silence lasted a few seconds, until I felt his body moving closer to mine. Julia, I need to tell you something. I didn't answer. He continued. The doctor called me today. Your test results came back. His voice hung heavy in the air. Gastric cancer. Early stage. I took a deep breath. I understand. His hand squeezed my shoulders harder than I expected. Julia, don't be afraid. I'm here. The doctor said that with proper treatment, the chances of recovery are high at this stage. I'll hire the best specialists. Leave it to me. You just need to focus on getting well. Everything will be fine. When he stopped talking, I waited. Is that it? He hesitated. Yes. Great. I'll follow the treatment. And that was it. After an exhausting day, sleep came suddenly. In the darkness and exhaustion, I felt arms gently wrap around me and a voice whispering my name. Shortly after, I heard muffled sobs and cold drops trickle down my face. How uncomfortable. The next morning, we had breakfast at my parents' house and then returned home. The doctor Elias had hired was already waiting for us. As soon as we entered, he presented the plan. The first step would be conservative treatment to prevent the tumor from advancing. If that wasn't effective, surgery would follow. Since the diagnosis was made early, the chances were good. While the doctor was talking, Elias held my hand tightly, as if he could prevent the world from touching me. "Julia, don't be afraid. I'm with you." I wasn't. In my previous life, I had faced illness alone and without support. Now, I had so much more. After the doctor left, Elias's assistant arrived to discuss work matters, especially the transition in the entertainment industry. It was an essential part of Elias's conglomerate, the foundation he had built. With his own hands for years, he had been in charge of everything, and now he was placing that responsibility in my hands. "Julia, this is Hudson, my assistant. Starting today, the department is yours. If you need anything, talk to him. And Monica, as deputy director, will support you in everything you need." I looked at him suspiciously. "You really trust me to run the most important department in the company?" He just laughed, took my hand, and started playing with my fingers. "Of course I do. How could I not trust my wife, my most brilliant student? Once you get used to the company, I plan to hand everything over to you. Then you can take care of business and I'll stay home and take care of our children." I pulled my hand away before he could get too carried away with this fantasy. 2 weeks later, I finished my first round of treatment. I was feeling much better, so I decided it was time to officially start at the company. I was greeted by Monica, who gave me an overview and introduced me to my secretary. After giving her some guidance, I spent the rest of the day immersed in documents. Near the end of the day, I went to the bathroom. While washing my hands, I heard muffled crying coming from one of the stalls. "Is anyone in there?" The silence that followed was tense. A few seconds later, a door opened slightly, revealing a pair of frightened eyes. I spoke as calmly as I could. "I'm Julia, the new director of the entertainment department. If you're having any trouble, you can talk to me." There was a hesitation, until the door opened completely. I was paralyzed. The girl's face in front of me had a red handprint on it. Her cheek was swollen, her skin hot, her eyes downcast. Anger rose in me like fire. What happened? It was an acting class. Her shifty gaze told me she was hiding part of the truth. I took her to my office, poured her a cup of warm water, and waited for her to calm down. "What's your name, dear?" "I'm Alice. I joined the company this year." I nodded. "Alice, you don't need to be afraid. As long as I'm here, no one will be mistreated in this department, no matter who they are. But if you don't tell me the truth, I can't do anything. For you. So tell me, who did this to you?" She hesitated, her eyes watering. "It was Zoe. We were both chosen for a period drama. Today there was an acting class organized by the company. At the end of the class, she said she wanted to rehearse the scene with me. She said that real actors don't use camera tricks and close-ups. And she started slapping me. Several times. I frowned. Zoe was already harassing her colleagues. She was still a newbie. Where did she get the nerve? Does she do this to everyone or just you?" Alice hesitated. "I think it's just me. We worked together before and the director always said she should learn from me. Then it seems Monica found out, and then Zoe." She didn't finish her sentence, but I understood. "Zoe only joined the company this year. You're the same age. Why are you so afraid of her? And why do you call her superior? If she assaulted you, why didn't you report it?" Alice lowered her head. After a few seconds, she replied in a low voice. "They say she has a powerful protector within the company." I didn't need to hear anything else. Of course it was Elias. I asked my secretary to check the cameras in the acting class. The recording clearly showed Zoe and Alice alone. The abuse was evident. Zoe forced her to repeat the scene, pretended to forget her lines, and hit her for no reason. Her face was calm, as if it were something normal. A cold anger took hold of me. That girl, and she still dreamed of being a star? I called Monica immediately. When she saw the video, her expression changed. It was my fault. I should have been more attentive. I raised my hand. Let's focus on resolving this. Monica agreed. I think a formal warning is the first step. I shook my head. That's not enough. If she's had privileges until now, let's see how she does without them. Negotiate with the production company. Alice will be the lead in the drama. Zoe can have Alice's role. She's had enough time as a star. Now she'll learn what it's like to be a supporting actress. Alice cried with relief and gratitude. I smiled. Work hard. Those who take their work seriously deserve to grow. The next day, Zoe exploded at the company. How dare they take me out of the fee? Lead role? Do they know who got me this contract? Who was the slut who had the nerve to undermine me? I approached slowly, in front of everyone. I was the one who asked the team to replace you. Is there a problem with that? Everyone was silent. Zoe turned and saw me. Her eyes flashed with anger before she hid it with pity. Oh, it's you, the boss's wife. I've been getting pretty close to Elias lately, so it's normal that you're jealous. But this is a company. You can't mix your personal life with your professional life. You're abusing your position because of a personal problem. Let's see what Elias thinks about this. The tension was almost palpable. I approached calmly, placed my bag on the table, and sat down. Hudson, bring yesterday's video. When the recording started, Zoe's face turned from white to red, then to an embarrassed purple. I watched everything in silence. First, I'm not an intruder. I'm the director of this department. Everything goes through me now. Second, this isn't revenge. It's punishment for violating company rules. Third, if you're so interested in what Elias thinks, why don't we call him now? I turned away and walked toward the bathroom, but Elias caught up with me and gently held my arm. When I turned around, I met his gaze. There was pain and despair in his eyes. Julia, it's over. Your parents are safe. He took a deep breath. For the next month, I'll have a team discreetly protecting them. You don't have to worry. I'll protect you guys. Always. The intensity of his voice said more than any promise. I nodded and looked away. Thank you for today. As the hot water fell on my skin, the fear that had lodged itself in, my chest finally began to dissipate. Not everything was sealed. This time my parents were still with me. This time, there would be no goodbye. I turned off the light in the room and lay down. Moonlight streamed through the cracks in the curtains, filling the room with a soft glow. I turned away, turning my back to Elias. I heard his restless movements. On the other side of the mattress, "Can't you sleep?" Silence. Soon I felt his body moving closer to mine. Julia, I need to tell you something. I remained silent. The doctor called me today. Your results are in. A heavy pause. Gastric cancer, early stage. The air seemed to stop. For a moment, I took a deep breath. I understand. He held me by the shoulders, his hands trembling with tension. Julia, don't be afraid. I'm here. The doctor said the prognosis is positive. Treatment can cure it now. I'll gather the best specialists. I'll take care of everything. You just need to rest and focus on getting better, okay? He paused. Is that it? His voice was weak. That's it. Okay then, I'll go ahead with the treatment. After a day that drained every ounce of my energy, sleep finally overcame me. Half asleep, I felt his arms wrap around me gently, whispering my name. Shortly after, I heard muffled sobs. Cold tears streamed down my face. How annoying. The next morning, after breakfast with my parents, Elias and I returned home. The doctor he had hired was already waiting for us. As soon as we entered, he presented the plan of action. The first step would be more conservative treatments to contain the growth of the tumor. If that didn't work, surgery would be performed as soon as possible. The early diagnosis offered good prospects. While the doctor spoke, Elias didn't let go of my hand. "Julia, you're not alone. I'm here." But I already knew that. In my past life, I had faced everything alone and still hadn't given in to fear. Now, with support, the burden was much lighter. After the doctor left, Elias's assistant appeared with questions about the company, especially about the transition of the entertainment department, one of the most important areas of the empire he had built. For years, Elias had personally taken care of that division. Now he was handing it all over to me. "Julia, this is Hudson, my assistant. From now on, the department is yours. If you have any questions, talk to him. And Monica, as deputy director, will assist you with whatever you need." I looked at him suspiciously. "Are you really trusting me with the most strategic part of the company?" He laughed and took my hand, playing with my fingers. "Of course I am. How could I not trust my wife, my most brilliant student? Once you're familiar with everything, I want to hand over the entire company to you. You take care of the business, and I'll stay home with our children." I pulled my hand away before he got too lost in his own daydream. 2 weeks later, I completed my first round of treatment. Feeling better, I decided to officially start my job. On my first day, I met Monica, who gave me an overview of the team and assigned me a secretary. After she left to take care of some errands, I spent the day immersed in documents and reports. At the end of the day, I went to the bathroom. Inside, I heard muffled sobs coming from one of the stalls. "Is anyone there?" The air hung heavy. A few seconds later, the door opened slightly, and 2 frightened eyes appeared. I spoke as calmly as I could. "I'm Julia, the new director of the department. If you have a problem, you can trust me." There was a brief hesitation. Until the door opened completely, I stood still. The face of the young woman in front of me was marked by a recent slap. Her cheek was swollen and red. Instant fury ran through my veins. What happened? It was an acting class. Her shifty gaze made it clear that she didn't want to reveal everything. I took her to my office, made her a cup of hot tea, and waited for her to calm down. "What's your name, dear?" "Alice, I joined the company this year." I nodded. "Alice, you're safe here. As long as I'm in charge, no one will be bullied or assaulted. But I need you to tell me who did this." She lowered her eyes, fighting back tears. "It was Zoe. We were cast in a period drama. We had acting class today. After class, she said she wanted to rehearse a scene with me. She said that real actors don't use camera tricks, and she slapped me several times." I frowned. Was Zoe already intimidating the newbies? She was still a beginner. What made her think she could do something like that? "Does she treat everyone like that, or was it just you?" Alice hesitated. "I think it was just me. On a previous project, the director always praised my performance and said she should watch me more. It seems Monica found out, and after that, Zoe changed towards me. But you joined the company at the same time. Why are you so afraid of her? Why do you call her superior? And if she assaulted you, why didn't you report it?" Alice looked away. "Everyone says she has someone important protecting her." The pieces fell into place. Obviously, that someone was Elias. I asked my secretary to retrieve the footage from the acting class cameras. The recording showed only Zoe and Alice. Each slap was an outburst of Zoe's frustration. Then she pretended to forget her lines, making Alice repeat the scenes dozens of times. This wasn't the first time. Her indifference and coldness made that clear. A cold hatred took hold of me. Did that girl really think she deserved to be a star? I called Monica immediately. As soon as she saw the video, her face turned stiff. Boss, it was my fault. I should have kept a closer eye on her. I raised my hand. Now we need to fix this. Monica nodded. We can issue an official warning. No. If she's had everything handed to her until now, let's see how she does without any privileges. Negotiate with the producer. Alice will take over the lead role. What was hers goes to Zoe. She's had her moment in the spotlight. Now it's time to learn how to be a supporting actress. Alice burst into tears, grateful. I smiled. Work hard. Those who take their work seriously deserve to grow. The next day, Zoe caused a scandal. How dare you take me out of the lead role? Do you know who got me this contract? Who was the idiot who had the nerve to undermine me? Come forward now. I approached slowly and said firmly, I was the one who asked the production team to replace you. Is there a problem with that? All eyes turned to me. Zoe turned her face away. And when she saw me, she tried to hide her anger with a cynical expression. Oh, it's you, the boss's wife. I've been spending a lot of time with Elias lately. It makes sense that you're jealous. But this is a serious company. Outsiders can't interfere like this. This is abuse of authority. I want to see what Elias has to say when he finds out. The atmosphere grew heavy. Everyone fell silent. I put my bag on the table and sat down. Hudson, bring the laptop. Show them yesterday's video. As soon as the recording started, Zoe's face turned from white to red, then purple. It was quite a sight. I crossed my legs and spoke calmly. First, I'm not a stranger. I'm the department director. Second, this isn't personal, you broke the rules. And third, since you're so concerned about what Elias thinks, let's ask him. I grabbed my phone and dialed. Now my routine was divided between hospital rooms. Hudson spent his days going back and forth between the company, the police station, and the corridors of the medical center. One afternoon, while a nurse was changing Elias's bandages, I was silently reviewing contracts. Hudson entered the room with a difficult-to-read expression. His eyes went straight to Elias. He didn't even wait. Get to the point, Hudson. No need to beat around the bush. Okay, the investigation is complete. The person who tried to run you over was Zoe, she confessed. The air grew thick. After her contract was terminated, her career fell apart. She tried to get back in several times, but was rejected every time. Then she got involved with the owner of another production company and landed some important roles. But the man's wife found out, made a scene, and assaulted Zoe so violently that she ended up in the hospital. She ended up getting kicked out of the production company and was left with no options. So she believed that if she hurt Julia, she could force us to rehire her. Luckily, the boss saved you in time and she failed. We are already taking legal action to ensure that she is punished as she deserves. Zoe, of course it was her. The circle was complete. Elias just nodded. Hudson, leave the room. I need to talk to Julia alone. Understood, but there's one more thing. Go ahead. Zoe freaked out at the police station. She kept screaming that she had been reborn and demanded to see you. She said she would only accept your guilt if she could find you. The room froze. Elias and I were silent for a few seconds. Then he spoke, his voice sharp. I don't want to see her. And from now on, don't mention her name again. Yes, sir. After Hudson left, the silence remained between us, until Elias spoke. Julia, I'm sorry for getting you involved in this. The only relief is that it wasn't you who ended up in that bed. If something had happened to you, I wouldn't know how to live with it. I looked at him wrapped in bandages, looking like a human cocoon. He continued, I know how much I hurt you in the past, and even if I lived 10 lives, it wouldn't be enough to make up for it. But I'm willing to give up everything. All I ask is a little mercy. Just enough to let me stay by your side so I can pay for what I did. Julia, please take a look at these papers. He raised his arm with difficulty and pointed to a folder on the table. I picked up the envelope and opened it. Inside were 2 documents. One was a total transfer of assets. The other was a divorce agreement. I was speechless. Elias had built that empire on his own. In both this life and the previous one, work and money had always been his priority. And now he was giving it all away. He smiled weakly. I asked the lawyers to prepare this right after I woke up from surgery. I've already signed it. If you sign it too, it goes into effect immediately. Everything that is mine will be yours, including the company shares. The other is the divorce agreement. I'll leave with nothing and spend the rest of my life working for you. I won't ask for anything in return. I know this doesn't erase everything I've done, but it's the most I can offer. I want you to be happy this time. I looked over the documents in silence. Everything was there exactly as he had described. After a few minutes, I asked, "When did you realize that I was reborn too?" He looked down. "That day, at your parents' house when you came running in, scared. That's when I knew, but I was afraid to ask. Afraid you would run away, I couldn't lose you again. I'm sorry I didn't protect you or your parents in the other life." I picked up the pen and signed both papers. "I accept all of this, but don't think that means forgiveness. I can't pretend nothing happened. Do you want to start over? Forget it. I'll keep the assets and the shares, but you'll remain the CEO. This company is your creation. Besides, this time I have plans. I don't have time to run a company. When you get better, I'm leaving." He tried to sit up in bed, the anguish written all over his face. "Wife, you're leaving me? Where are you going?" I smiled. "To Italy. Florence. I want to see the art I've always dreamed of. The architecture, walk the streets, talk to people. Maybe I'll go to other countries too. There are still so many places in this world I don't know." He sighed and lay back down. "Then maybe it will take me longer to recover. This second breath of life was not meant to tie me to anyone. It was supposed to let me see the world, live life to the fullest, and find happiness. Or maybe find myself." 1 year later, Florence. I left the Galleria dell'Accademia and sat on the steps of the square, letting the afternoon sun warm my skin. My phone vibrated nonstop with notifications, all from Elias. "Wife, I had so much work today that I didn't even get to eat lunch. Wife, it's raining nonstop here. My leg hurts again. Wife, the investors and the old men on the board made my life hell today. Wife, are you enjoying Italy? When are you coming back? Wife, next time we'll go to the beach together, okay? I remember you love the sea more than anything." I turned on silent mode. A commotion took over the square. I looked up. A couple was crossing the crowded space. He in an elegant suit, she in a white wedding dress. Smiles, applause, blessings. In languages I couldn't identify. They looked like the happiest people in the world. I smiled without realizing it. In the distance, the sun was beginning to set. Florence glowed with a soft golden light, as if the whole city were breathing under that warm light. The Roman structures stood in contrast to the colorful stained glass windows reflecting delicate hues. Imposing castles guarded every corner of this enchanted land. White doves crossed the sky, and somewhere, the smell of grapes spread through the air. Night fell slowly. Lights came on. Music filled the streets. My life was just beginning.